Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes Reacts. I am Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively we're the Office Blokes.
Yes.
We are the three most dangerous blokes in this office.
Easy.
Do you know what? We probably are, actually. No, do you know what? We're not.
It's mostly women.
We're not. It is mostly women, yeah. Well, we're about 97% women in here.
You might be,
offices.
I'm not.
I like to
60% man.
I like to address my feminine side.
Yeah, anyway, we are the Office Blokes and we've got a Patreon page, believe it or not.
Patreon page. Go to patreon.com.
That's what you said.
Put in Office Blokes React, and if you want to support the channel like loads of other people have already, which has been fantastic,
Yep.
really appreciated.
Fantastic.
Yeah, go and check it out.
And we've got merch, link in the description.
Yeah.
That's
Merch
wearing
as well.
one of the hoodies now.
Yep.
It's got a hood and
spot on.
everything.
Yeah, so a hood that comes with a hoodie and a zip. And a
Do you know what? It's
drawstring.
boiling.
Got all sorts.
Nice. We've got a couple of other channels as well, haven't we?
We have Dave.
Yep.
We've got Office Blokes Try, where we try stuff. Dave's done the one chip challenge. Mike's tried sushi for the first time in his life. We're going to be doing ice hockey. We're going to be doing NFL, American football. We're going to be doing basketball. We're going to be doing batting cages. Loads of stuff. We're even going to do some. We're even going to try some beers from around the world. So if you want us to try beer from where you're from, send us some.
Drop us an email.
And if you want to
link in
just
the
send us some
description.
beer,
Send us some.
Office Bloke Daz might like a beer this week. I'm going to send him some beer. Do that as well.
You know what we should do when the world opens back up again? You've got the app for Weatherspoons, and I know you don't like drinking in spoons.
I
But,
won't go in spoon. The only time I go in is away games.
but what you can do is you can order food or drinks to people's tables if you've got the pub and the table number.
Yeah.
So we should do Office Blokes in spoons one day, and people can just send us whatever drinks they
imagine how many
want.
drinks you get. Though.
Live
We'll get-
stream it.
Good
Just-
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means I'll have to go into a Weatherspoons. Office Blokes Try Weatherspoons.
We'll
Be
find
shit.
a nice one.
I don't mind a Weatherspoons.
The
They're all
shit.
right. And we've got a podcast channel as well, haven't we?
We have where we do a podcast every Friday night from 6 o'clock.
Yep.
It's not live. It's live, but not live.
Live and direct,
And
pre-recorded.
6 o'clock where we talk. 6 o'clock British Standard Time where we talk shit for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the 10 most dangerous cities in America for 2020.
Where do you think the 10 most dangerous cities in America would be before we start? What do you think would be on there?
I think Detroit is.
Yeah, I'd go
one
with
of
that.
them.
I'd go with Detroit.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago. I've been in Chicago.
I think
It's quite
Chicago.
nice.
I actually think Chicago might be up there. You
It's a
know,
nice city. I think places. I don't know if like places like Laredo, for example.
don't know what
Right,
it is.
It's or El Paso, places like that, where it's on the border of Mexico.
Oh, right, okay.
But I
And
think
they're
isn't
in
it?
Texas, but they're on the border of like they're on the border of Mexico, and they are pretty dangerous cities.
I thought sort of the other side of the border it becomes very dangerous, but I thought they were fairly safe closer to the border in America because they're kind of, you know, they've
Yeah.
got guns.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I've been to Detroit and I've been to Laredo and I've been to El Paso, and all of them are a little bit ooh. You know what I mean? A little bit, ooh. But I mean, Atlanta. I've been to Atlanta, and that's kind of like a little bit ooh as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's nice at the same time.
I mean, I think years ago a lot of people probably would have said New York, but it's probably not like that now, is it?
Apparently-
is it or is it just
apparently-
certain
Yeah, I guess
places
you've got
in
certain places you-
but I suppose
you know,
everywhere else,
it's-
hasn't
yeah.
they?
Apparently
they've got
last year the murder rates in New York went through the roof
Really?
during the lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently it's like crime was gone. It's gone
But it's
like
it's
80s New York.
got a
again,
massive,
I've
it's
heard
got a
people
massive
say.
population, New York, compared to, I don't know, if you compare, I don't know, a town in the middle of nowhere, compared to, if you compare the population to St. Louis, Missouri, compared to New York City, it's probably a massive difference. I don't know what they are, but it's probably a massive difference.
Yeah.
Do you know, so you're going to get higher percentages for everything. But I think most dangerous cities in America, I think Detroit would be on there. I agree with that. But I also think some of the, like I say, Laredo or El Paso, places like that.
What about that town where, I suppose it's a town, not a city, where there's just one woman who lives there, and if she like...
She's passed away, apparently.
Oh, yeah, and the guy's taken over now. And what if he domestically abused himself? Then it'd be 100% domestic abuse rate in that town.
What about LA?
LA? Yeah.
I don't know, because I think in 2020 the majority of it, from what I gather from podcasts and stuff, LA was locked down a lot more than the rest, a lot of other American cities.
It's huge though, isn't it, LA? I mean...
Yeah, but I don't
Massive
think
area.
there was that much going on there for it to be crazy dangerous.
Yeah.
I suppose people are probably, their spouses and stuff are, it's probably in the house, the danger, isn't it, when people are locked down. I don't know.
Something like Miami, maybe.
I think all the big cities are going to
People-
could be listed.
Yeah, but it's really sunny and warm in Miami, isn't it? So people are just happy,
Yeah.
aren't they? I don't know.
Let's
I've never
hope so.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Miami.
I think we better get
Lovely
into
town.
it. Should we get into
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
What are you trying to hide? Don't you realize you're involved in the murder?
Whatever.
See, that was, remember when I did my American impression when we did On the Beer? What are you, a wise guy?
That was
Perfect.
the voice.
It was
Doing
perfect.
1960s TV.
Yeah. Fight like that.
Got yourself in a jam it's not going to be easy to get out of, unless you're on the level with me. This is no time for secrets.
Murder. Such a scary word. Depending on where you live, it can be a really scary word.
Murder.
Or
Murder.
just another regular day in my hood word. Hopefully, if you live in a really scary, murdery place, you probably have your doors locked right now as you watch this informative video. No, you'll be okay. Probably. Maybe. Things might seem like they're going to hell in a handbasket these days, as the saying goes, but you might be surprised to hear it's not as bad as it used to be. Going back to 1950, when they started counting murders, I guess, today's homicide rate is far below its peak. We're closer to how things were in the mid-60s these days. Back in 1970, 1980, and 1991, things were really bad, like there were twice as many murders than today. And, dear American, you think things are bad in...
That graph only went up to 2018, though.
El Salvador
Was
was
it?
bad, innit? I was going to say that the other day when we did that football one.
Yeah.
Central America there, El Salvador, Honduras.
Homicide rate per 100,000.
But some of that, I mean, United States Virgin Islands, you wouldn't have thought it'd be that kind of thing. But you look at other ones, you're kind of not surprised. Lesotho, Jamaica, Belize, you're not sort of South Africa.
The South
Brazil,
American
Guatemala,
countries where,
yeah.
you know, like...
You're not surprised, are you?
No. Especially, like, you know, fresh out of watching Narcos and Narcos
Yeah.
Mexico.
Nothing on that
Colombia's
list.
in there as
Nothing
well,
on
innit?
that list, probably apart from Tuvalu, St. Lucia, would surprise me. I think maybe St. Kitts as well may surprise me.
your hood, check out the murder rates in other countries. Now, we'll go into this a little bit later, but for perspective, El Salvador has 11 times more murders per capita than the USA. In fact, it's kind of a Central American Caribbean sweep for highest murder rates, outside of a couple of African nations. We're way down here, somewhat near as many murders per capita as Greenland and Samoa. The least murdery country? There's a handful of small countries where nobody got murdered last year, and then Japan, where hardly anybody gets murdered ever. I guess they don't have guns there. Today in America, you have about a 1 in 20,000 chance of being murdered, but that number is much higher if you live in the cities we're going to talk about. So, lock your doors as we go through America's Murder Capitals 2020.
No offence to whoever lives there, because no doubt someone in the comments everyone always comments and goes, that's my street.
That's my street, I live there, yeah.
That looks grim. The sort of desolate buildings, houses are falling down.
Do you know what it looks like
Shop
to me?
with no windows.
Yeah.
Well, I've lived in America, like I say, but it looks to me like old America.
It's
So
just
you
been
go to
forgotten
places,
and-
you go places like Newark, New Jersey. These roads that may look like that.
Yeah.
You know, which you know, it's
Is it
just old.
Is it just because everything else is modernised around it?
Yeah,
then
and
these
it's sort of
little
kind of
pockets-
spread out where it's been more modern,
Yeah,
more
right,
newer, newer builds. And it's you know the older sort of towns where people have lived there for years and years, and it's it's commercialised still. And you get a lot of pockets as well. Like you'll get in Newark. I'll use Newark as an example. In Newark, you get the Ironbound section, which is predominantly Portuguese.
All right.
Yeah, so
Wow.
you get the Brazilian population, the Portuguese population. It's all around. All the restaurants are like Portuguese, Brazilian.
Nice.
So but again, parts of it could look a bit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it always looks worse when it's dull, cloudy and pissing it down as well, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, and everyone's going to tell me it looks nothing like that in Ironbound and all that.
Yeah.
But it does.
Even their poor housing, the houses are bigger than they are over here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can be.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started here. First up on our murder capital tour of the U.S. is Newark, New Jersey. Here in Newark, there were a total of 75 murders, which may or may not sound like a lot, but for a city of 282,000 people, that's a lot. For perspective, the entire state of West Virginia only had 67. You have a 1 in 3,000 chance of being killed in Newark every year. And get this, that's actually way down from the peak in 1960. That means Newark is safer now more than ever, and it's still really bad here.
When I lived in New Jersey, our office was in Newark.
Was it?
Was it?
You know what? If they actually counted the pusher as a murderer in Manchester, and not that all these young men keep getting found in the canals dead, then the Manchester murder rate would be well higher than that.
What was the murder rate when Shipman was around?
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean,
How many did he kill? 200 and something, was it?
But
It's a lot,
they
wasn't
know
it?
of,
It's a lot.
that they know
Yeah.
of, but they think it's significantly more.
What was that in a year?
No,
I think it's
it was
stretched over several years, wasn't it? I
Yeah.
think that's the worst bit about it.
He's the worst serial killer in the world, isn't he?
I think he is, yeah.
As far as we know.
And he was
Yeah.
also my dad's mum's doctor when she died. Funnily enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or Harold Shipman, if you want to look it up.
Yeah, and also look up the pusher in Manchester because the police say he's not real, but
they've
he
not
is.
found him yet, have they?
No.
No.
Unofficially,
He definitely exists. 100%.
unofficially, cops have said a few times.
People have witnessed it, haven't they?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
But yeah, this Newark car office was right in Newark.
And what was it like though? Was
Shithole.
it? Was it? No, sorry.
Sorry if you live in Newark. No, it
just
was
offended
it
everyone
was,
there.
It was no, it was very Hispanic. Newark.
Yeah.
And like I say, the Ironbound section was very Portuguese. Newark and all around all the surrounding areas, Jersey City, places like that. I lived further down the south though. I lived out of the way of it all.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, they've been cracking down here in Newark with aid coming from the FBI, State Attorney's Office, and New Jersey State Police. Newark PD has even resorted to providing haircuts for kids for school, giving away turkeys and coats along with school supplies to quell the violence. But the kids aren't the one shooting people? If you don't want to get killed,
I think that's probably a consequence of the parents that aren't looking after their kids. So they're trying to look after the kids so they don't grow up to kill people
Yeah.
and not look after their kids. That's what that is. They're not giving
Yeah.
them turkeys to keep them off the streets and not shoot people. You know what I mean?
Try and keep the kids happy.
Yeah. So they don't grow up to be the people shooting people.
stay in the north and east parts of Newark. If you want to be killed, then go to the south and west parts of Newark.
If you just go back a little bit there, Dave.
Yeah.
We moved our office from the centre of Newark.
Yeah.
So, and when you draw on that circle, you see Hillside on Route 22.
Yeah.
When it says Union, you got Hillside. We moved to Hillside. So we moved out just outside of Newark, when it says Newark Liberty Airport, just on Route 1 and 9 there, near the airport. We moved out. We moved to Hillside to get out of the sort of like the
hot
area
spot,
of-
so
yeah,
to
the hot
speak.
spot, yeah.
East parts of Newark. If you want to be killed, then go to the south and west parts of Newark. Downtown is apparently better, but still nowhere near safe. Outside of Camden, Trenton, Atlantic City, and Patterson, the rest of the state's pretty safe, since as a whole, New Jersey's the 5th safest state in the U.S. Where are we heading next? Let's follow this paramedic to Kansas City, Missouri, aka KCMO, aka KC Ghetto, at least in some parts. Here in Kansas City, Missouri, there were 137 murders last year. That's more than the whole state of Massachusetts. What's going on here, people? It's getting worse here, at least lately. Last year, the city nearly broke a record for murders, which it had set 2 years prior. And just about every single murder is unsolved, meaning the perps are still on the streets here. The KCPD has been urged to put more homicide detectives on the streets and develop a witness protection program to make it easier for people to come forward with leads. Just as I was writing this, a mass shooting in Kansas City was at the top of the news. I think they said this happened at a Kansas City Chiefs celebration party.
Wow.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Remember the
Nevada,
Las Vegas
yeah.
shooting?
Yeah, Las Vegas.
course.
Was that
Yeah.
2019 though? Or was that in
not sure, but
2020? I feel like that was
can't remember what it was
2019,
now.
but if
Yeah.
that's going to be off the
Oh,
charts
yeah,
because
a
that was
Super Bowl party, man. And people enjoying themselves, and then some bellend wants to come in and start shooting a place up.
I know.
God.
well,
Unbelievable, isn't it?
2 dead, including the gunman.
Mm.
So, dickheads, aren't they, the people who do that?
I
But
mean, what's the point?
that's digressing. But yeah, that I don't know if it was 2020, the Las Vegas thing. Then Las Vegas, Nevada, I think will be top of the list because that was an absolute.
Yeah.
You
I don't know,
know,
when you think about, what did he say there? 173.
yeah,
And what was Newark? 100,
I can't remember. Now.
127?
I think it was 70 odd, wasn't it?
75,
70 odd, I
maybe.
think, yeah.
What's London this year? Or last year?
See-
London was high last year.
There's been quite a lot of that in the comments where people are like, well, Americans saying if the news is to be believed, it's dangerous in London and you'll get killed when you step out your door. But actually, a lot of that is quite. I'm sure it will be over there. It's quite centralised to areas and mainly young men of a
Knife
certain
crime,
age.
crime in this country is out of control at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely out of control.
Yeah.
With every, and that's everywhere. And you read about it every single day.
But they need bigger sanctions, don't they? You know, if you get caught with a knife,
There's supposed to be
up 5
a
years or something,
mandatory
or, yeah.
minimum sentence, but there isn't.
there
Is, but it's not enforced.
I think every time you caught with a
Maybe that's a
knife, you get
problem.
one finger chopped off. With the knife you're carrying.
It depends what kind of knife. to be fair, because you're allowed to carry a Swiss Army knife in this country. That's legal. That is, it's locking blades above 3 inches that you're not allowed to carry. Right. Basically, that's the law.
Bullshit. Yeah. Anyway, let's see this.
Why does sports bring out the worst in people? 2/3 of those killed in Kansas City were black males, contributing to Missouri's #1 ranking for black homicide victimization. Don't worry, Missouri, we'll be back again to visit you again before the end of this video. But for now, we heard some gunshots, so we're going to go en route to the city of Memphis. Here in Memphis, there were 191 murders. What the? That's more than the whole state of Wisconsin in a year. And it's getting worse here too. 2 years ago, Memphis saw 180 people get killed, and then last year it was 187. It's so bad here in Memphis that officials are calling it a crisis. You think? The Justice Department now has a plan to solve problems in places like Memphis. It's called Operation Relentless Pursuit. It's going to involve more money, officers, and technology, and syncing databases to try to figure out a way to catch these killers. If you're watching this from another country, well, yes, the United States has some really terrible, scary places, but nothing like countries like Venezuela, where 8% of all murders happen worldwide. Mexico saw 6% of the world's murders last year. Colombia had 6% of the world's murders. Brazil had 4%, and South Africa had 3%. And here's a troubling stat. 400,000 people were murdered worldwide last year. That's more than died from drowning. Twice as many people, or 800,000, killed themselves last year. If you live in certain Baton Rouge neighborhoods, you might feel like you're in a foreign country. That's because you have a 1 in 2,800 chance of being murdered if you live here. 83 people were homicide victims last year, which was actually down from 2017 when 105 people were killed. That's a lot. This person lives in Baton Rouge, and she had some poignant things to say. Crime, violence, mental health issues, racism. I can count on 2 hands the people worth the investment of a long-term relationship. I hated moving there as a child, and I fully loathe the place now. Louisiana can literally break off and float out into the Gulf, and I wouldn't care, except I hope Baton Rouge was the first to drown. Damn.
Why does Baton Rouge stick out in my mind? Something happened there recently. Is that's not where
the explosion was? An explosion there not long ago.
Was it an explosion, or was it the cinema shooting, or was that somewhere else? Someone's gonna have to let us know.
There was an explosion somewhere down that way, I think.
For some reason, I've heard Baton Rouge said a lot, and I had no idea where it was or what. But for some reason, it's just.
Oh, right, okay.
The areas in Baton Rouge where most of the murders happen are in low-income areas where high drug use and gangs are prevalent. No surprises there. Hurricane Katrina made the problem worse, apparently.
Did you know Louisiana has the highest incarceration rate in the world?
I think, maybe, I heard that once, Mappy. Is that really true? Wow, it looks like Louisiana had way more people locked up a few years ago, but it's gone down? What, are they letting people out? Also, Oklahoma took the lead for a minute. In terms of countries... Oh yeah, we're #1. The most locked up people of all. So Louisiana does have more people locked up than anywhere else in the world per capita. And look at all the countries that are over capacity for their prisons. Have you ever been to jail, Mappy?
No, never, and I don't plan to.
Yeah, well, I don't think you'd survive very long in there.
Maybe I'd make friends. The other prisoners could use me to find a way to escape.
That's a good point, Mappy. Oh, good old Mappy. Please don't ever wind up in jail. We'll never see you again. We don't have to go very far to get to our next murder capital of the U.S., New Orleans. Here, 119 people were murdered last year, that they know of, which is way better than in previous years, like in 50 years. But why? Well, for one, the mayor says her plan on using data-driven police interventions and community outreach is working. The Big Easy was the murder capital of America in '94, and from '94 to 2013, the city averaged 250 murders annually. Oh, but it's still bad here, and it's still more dangerous than in most places in Mexico and Venezuela. Tourists and residents are told to walk in groups. I've been to many areas in New Orleans, and besides just the rundown post-Katrina neighborhoods, you can almost get stabbed just a block off of Bourbon Street while taking a pee by a dumpster. Happened to me.
I've always wanted to go to New Orleans as well.
For the Mardi Gras?
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of my mates went years ago and just said it was unbelievable. Yeah. It's like being in another world. So I'd love to go, and obviously like the musical sort of heritage there as well. There's supposed to be lots of cool music bars.
Yeah, I can imagine
House of Blues, isn't it? It's all the blues and stuff down there.
Yeah.
I mean, is it sort of like fully recovered since Katrina then, New Orleans? Have you sort of read much up
as,
it?
As the British spokesperson for New Orleans, I just like to say.
I mean, it's an absolute mess though, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah.
It's hit really hard.
I think it would have recovered by now.
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
It wouldn't stop. That stat wouldn't stop me going there, though, to be honest.
No stat stopped me going anywhere. I remember going to Johannesburg.
Yeah, my brother.
We were meeting in a restaurant at night, and I was in the hotel. And I said to the guy, "Where's this restaurant?" He went, "Oh, if you come out," he said, "it's just round the back here." I said, "Oh, walk over." And I walked out. When I arrived, he went, "How did you get here?" They were all waiting for me. He said, "How did you get here?" I said, "I just walked over. My hotel's there." And he went, "No.
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, when you're going home, you're getting dropped off, sort of thing. I was like, I didn't even see anyone.
My bro did it in. I think it was Johannesburg as well. It was definitely South Africa, where they drove off somewhere and I think they got lost and ended up in a certain neighbourhood, and it was like. Absolutely not. You know, when people they told people about it, they were lucky.
Yeah. But when I went to Cape Town, they've got like all the vineyards there, and I wanted to go to the vineyards, and it was on the other side of the mountain. So I said to the hotel, "Can you get me a taxi?" So they went, "We'll order your taxi. It's got to be approved by us, and all this. You don't go outside and just get one."
Yeah.
So they said, "Whatever we'll make sure we do it all for you." So I was like, "Fine, go ahead." And this guy got in the taxi and he said, "We've organised it. It's a limo." Guy turns up in like a 1968 shitty like Fiesta, and I'm like, okay, limo.
Did you get kidnapped?
No.
Well, you're all right.
Still here, aren't I?
There's rules on what to do so you don't get killed in New Orleans. Stay away from bad neighborhoods. Okay. Travel in groups. Be home by 1 a.m. Don't go to cemeteries. Don't look like you're weak. Carry a gun. Okay. Man, some serious stuff.
Don't go to cemeteries.
I don't think a lot of good stuff happens after midnight anymore anyway, to be fair. Like, yeah, I used to think, you know, you've got to be out. So if you're in a club or whatever, great. Get out the door, get in a taxi and go home. But wandering the streets of any major city at 3-4 in the morning is going to cause trouble.
Yeah, there's always the odd dodgy person knocking about, isn't there?
Yeah.
You could just be unlucky, can't you, to run into the wrong one.
There's opportunists everywhere.
Yeah, of course there is.
Every major city has it.
Yeah.
Detroit is daring to reach up. Some Detroiters prefer to dwell in these new, self-contained cities within a city. Others in new cooperatives or friendly neighborhoods. Whatever the choice, Detroiters rate their city high for living, working, and sheer enjoyment.
This guy on weed or something.
I'll right? He's proper enthusiastic about Detroit, isn't he?
It's really selling it to me.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a hint of irony in this. Like he's actually got a dead body next to him while he's saying it.
Yeah.
This is the safest city in the world.
Yeah, Detroit is nothing like that now. Of course Detroit's on this list. This city saw 261 people murdered last year alone, which is more than the whole state of New Jersey, which has a city on this list. And murders are down here, too. It's only the first time since 1967 where there were less than 300 killings in this city. Probably because everyone's leaving. Typically, a city's crime rate goes up when its population goes down, so Detroit's an interesting case. Hopefully, it's a long-term trend. But if you think that's bad, in 1974 there were 714 murders here, and in 91 there were 615. So now's nothing. Of course, population declines left abandoned buildings behind, which have become magnets for the drug trade and angry, mean people. Poverty, crime, shootings, drugs, and urban blight in Detroit are ongoing problems. Poverty-wise, a typical Detroit neighborhood made about $25,000 last year, the second lowest in the country and about half of what the typical American household made. Similarly, its poverty rate of 40% is the second highest in the country, well more than double the national poverty rate of 15%. Birmingham, Alabama is our fourth murder capital of the U.S. That might throw you off since Detroit's only fifth, but if you're measuring actual murders per capita, the numbers don't lie. Here in Birmingham, there were 88 murders, and for a city of just over 200,000 people, that means residents have a 1 in 2,400 chance of being killed every year.
In Birmingham, in England, it's 1 in 24.
I was going to say the big question is in Birmingham, do they... It's gone. I literally had something clever to say and it went, love the governor. That's what I was going to say.
You know your city's bad when the Venezuelan government's telling residents to avoid you. How are people being killed in the U.S.? This chart shows that about half of all murders are by a handgun, Another 3,000 are by an unidentified gun. 1,500 people were stabbed to death. And then you have bare hands, blunt objects, poisoned. Only 5 people were poisoned last year in the U.S.? That seems low. Now, Birmingham's a very black city, where 2/3 of the population is African American. What percentage of murder victims in the U.S. are black men? Well, according to this chart, black Americans were only slightly more likely to be killed in the U.S., casting aside the myth that most murders in the U.S. are black-on-black crimes. Another interesting stat, most murders don't cross racial lines, meaning white people kill white people and black people kill black people.
Wow.
Of all black homicide victims, 86% were male, and the average age is 31 years old. 83% of black victims were shot and killed with guns. Here in Jackson, Mississippi, things certainly have been better, especially on the south side of town. There were 78 murders here, which means folks had a 1 in 2,100 chance of being a victim themselves. That's only twice as high as dying in an accidental drowning. Heck, your odds of falling down the stairs and dying is 1 in 1,600. Jackson's crime has been ticking up lately, but look at the last few years. This news channel in Jackson keeps a running tally of Jackson murders, which is sad. Last year ended with a bunch of shootings right on New Year's Eve in Jackson, where people were just randomly shooting into homes. What is going on, people? Which U.S. cities are actually decreasing their murder rates? Well, New York City had like 2,200 murders in 1990, but their murder rate's down by 90%. Chicago peaked in the early 90s as well, though the South Side is notoriously terrible for shootings. San Francisco, too, though covered in poop, has seen its homicide rate go down by quite a bit. Who's our homicide runner-up? St. Louis is. Here, more than 194 murders happened last year.
We're supposed to be getting a care package from there for the Try channel. Someone emailed the other day. We're going to have to get it vetted before we open it. Just to be safe.
Just in case.
Be fine.
For a city of over 300,000 people, that's a lot. You have about a 1 in 1,600 chance of dying in St. Louis every year, and likely by a gun. Way back in the early 90s, there were 100 more murders a year here, and over time, murders here have gone up and down, but currently the number of murders each year are as high now as this city's seen since the late 90s. Downtown's pretty nice, at least in the winter months, a fact I can attest since I was just there a month ago. However, the north side of St. Louis is very, very bad, and where most of the problems happen, likely between people fighting over drugs or gang BS or both. St. Louis has a new plan called Cure Violence, which resembles Chicago's plan called Cease Fire. The goal is to treat gun violence like it's a disease and to stop its spread by helping youth see alternatives to violence and by convincing gunshot victims from retaliating.
I know someone shot you and it hurt, but don't shoot them back. That's not much of an incentive, is it? Especially for like a young person who's just been shot and everyone knows it.
You'd be mad.
It's just crazy.
You'd be mad though if someone shoots you.
Of course you would. And if you could, you'd probably shoot the person back, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Not condoning it.
Yeah.
I just think a lot of these initiatives to try and solve problems, regardless of the country, it all seems to be the same sort of political initiatives of like, remember Hug a Hoodie in this country, and
Yeah.
a lot of it I think comes from not a lot of economic opportunities for people. There's no hope, so that's where they start robbing people and selling drugs, and
That's where it needs to start, doesn't it?
everything.
It needs to start at school and then like giving people jobs when they leave school.
It's jobs, it's opportunities and
Yeah,
stuff,
of
isn't
course. Yeah.
You know, I'm all for opportunities, so if I was lived in somewhere like St. Louis, Missouri, I'd be a gun seller.
Fair play.
Hey, who's our murder capital of the USA? Baltimore is. Or as people have called it, Bodymore Murderland.
Wow.
Here in Baltimore, there were 350 murders last year.
I'd never have guessed that.
Well, no.
Don't know where Baltimore is.
I've been to Baltimore. It's not far from Washington, D.C. I've been to Baltimore loads of times. Annapolis and all around there.
Yeah.
Really?
Beautiful city. You know, Baltimore Pier and all around there. I absolutely love it around there. But I don't know if it's a pier or a bay, whatever they call it. But I tell you what, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I would never, ever have guessed that.
That's a lot, isn't it? That 350. Wow.
Yeah, it used to be about when we lived in New Jersey. It's probably about 3 hour drive, 3-4 hour drive.
Right.
To Baltimore, if that. And we used to go a lot. And it was always,
Nice.
always. Annapolis is beautiful. It's like the Navy base and all that. And it's
Yeah.
a really nice place, but I would never have guessed that. Probably been, I wouldn't even guessed it in the top 50.
Wow.
Shows what I know.
Big surprise to you then.
It goes to show what stats can be like, though, because if you went there loads, loved it, and you found it a safe place, the stats tell you otherwise. Stats aren't always necessarily the way of gauging.
I guess it's capacity per capita as well, because you've got even Philadelphia. I thought would have been higher than Baltimore. I'd have put Philadelphia above that. Places like that.
Yeah,
it might be that it's 95% of the city is perfectly safe, and then there's just that one little pocket where it all happens. And if you avoid it, then you're all right.
It's definitely usually areas within cities or on the outskirts into the usually the worst places.
No,
but
mad.
It's a lot.
Which is the highest it's been since 1993, and close to an all-time high. It's also 5 years in a row now that there have been more than 300 murders in Baltimore. Wow. You have about a 1 in 1,700 chance of being murdered in Baltimore every year, and much higher in certain parts of the city. This site's been tracking homicides in Baltimore, and the last 100 only goes back to Halloween, and it's January right now. Look at the last mayors of Baltimore. Resigned, didn't run for re-election. Resigned, didn't run for re-election. Would you want that job? In Baltimore, the stated targets for busts aren't drug offenses. It's trying to find all the damn handguns. There's similar plans on what to do to curb the violence and murder rates here, but it's all the same thing, and it probably won't work. They've even considered flying surveillance planes over Baltimore 24/7. People say the police aren't as aggressive since the Freddie Gray murders and riots in 2015. Others say it's all the illegal guns laying around. Some say it's a drug crisis. Well, there were 417 mass shootings last year in the U.S.
Wow.
More than one every day. It's white versus white, black versus black. Lots of people here are sick, and big pockets of inner cities in the U.S. have had a breakdown of morality and family values. When the culture of the streets takes precedence over getting a damn job and being responsible, there's nothing we can do to stop it, except throw them all in jail. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I think he touched upon something there. The breakdown of family values is a huge one. If people don't have positive role models that show them how to be a grown-up, they don't know. They just stay a 5-year-old throwing tantrums even when they become an adult with access to guns and stuff.
Definitely. That's where it starts with the family, the way you brought up, and
dead surprised.
Like say family values and what have you.
I feel like I should have a look at, you talk amongst yourselves, what the Manchester rate is.
I was just going to say, what do you think? If we did a top 10 in the UK, where do you think we'd fare in Altrincham?
Well, yeah, I think Altrincham would probably be pretty safe, I'd guess.
No, Altrincham actually. Don't forget that guy got convicted the other day for the one in Ashley. He went to prison for
that wasn't a murder. If you've read the story, I know it was a murder. He killed him at the end of the day, but there was a lot more to it than that.
I know there was more to it. Right, great. So you two just fill the dead air for a minute.
I'm thinking Greater Manchester. I'm going to have a guess at Greater Manchester homicides for 2019. I'm going to guess at 35.
35?
Yeah.
I'll say...
Not taking into consideration things like the arena bombing, which I know wasn't 2019, but things like that. I bet there's about 35 deaths, because I think that pusher probably equates to about 12 a year.
Maybe every week, maybe.
Well, the stats aren't going to be... they're not going to include someone like the pusher because it's not been proven.
Right.
But they reckon that could be like 300 people he's killed, I think it is. Yeah. Just in Greater Manchester alone. Yeah. Like, they've been found in the canals. It's crazy. Let's see if I can find a number.
But what's the murder rate in Manchester, Greater Manchester, for last year? Do you know?
It looks like I've got 2020 here. So 2019, it was 64.
Oh, wow. Higher than I thought.
And then this year, 2020. 39.
Oh, so it's dropped by half almost.
What's Greater Manchester? About 2 million.
What's Greater London?
Not sure.
Does it say Greater London? I reckon we'd be down the list. I reckon Manchester would probably be about 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
In London, this is for 2019, I think it is 149.
So it's on par with some of these, London.
But
London's bad knife crime shite.
I mean, it is terrible, but I mean, going off the populations, it's a lot less, because London's, what's that, 8 million, 12 million, something like that, the population of Greater London, something like that. Because some of these cities was like 200,000-300,000, weren't they? So,
correct.
It's...
that's what I say. When you look at stats and the population and per capita, then you're talking, it changes the whole thing.
It seemed like predominantly handguns were the biggest cause on that list. which is, they've been banned since the Dunblane shooting in this country.
Yeah.
You're still allowed single shot handguns for target shooting, but you're not allowed multi-capacity handguns. And you're actually allowed black powder revolvers, so you can have 6 musket balls in it and black powder.
Right.
They're allowed in this country.
It's like 1750.
I've shot one and couldn't hit the target from 15 foot away.
Yeah.
It was
Story of your life.
a nightmare. I'm accurate, don't worry about that. No, it's an interesting one. I wonder if the handguns weren't so prevalent, if that'd really bring it down. Because you can't conceal a shotgun or a rifle as easily as you can conceal a handgun.
No.
And I think a lot of these, if they're drug related and stuff, someone's got a handgun down the belt of their pants, they can just pull it out and shoot.
It'll just go into go into the black market of illegal trade of handguns and all that kind of stuff, won't it? But I think with this, that wouldn't deter me from going to any of them cities.
No,
there's always good places in every city.
Yeah.
There's always,
you just got to have your wits about you, haven't you?
There's always good places and always good people wherever you go.
But you talk about Detroit, for example, being like, it's poverty stricken and all that. But aren't they? I mean, people let us know on this. Isn't that the Motor City? Isn't that where Ford are and Chevrolet? And
no, I think that's where it was. And I'm pretty sure that all collapsed, didn't it, in the 60s?
I don't know what the motor trade's like in Detroit. I don't know if it's still prevalent up there, because I know they were trying to change a lot of stuff over the last few years, where they were trying to, let's say, make America great again, where he was trying to bring a lot of the... I know, and I'm not touching on politics.
I'm joking.
It's nothing to do with me. But I thought they were trying to bring a lot of the industry back to these certain cities to try and help out. Whether that happened or not, I don't know. I think Pittsburgh, I don't know if it got the steel back or anything like that.
That's right, yeah.
I do think there was deregulation where mines were open back up and things like that. So some jobs did go back to certain places. But if in the 60s everyone was driving American cars, some people are driving American cars now. Everyone's driving Japanese cars, German cars. So you can bring back the industry to places like Detroit all you like. But if the demand isn't there for that many American cars,
the demand will still be, I'm sure the demand's still there.
There'll be a demand there without a doubt. But again, because your BMWs are so good, even Japanese cars are just unbelievable.
Well, we tried it in like the 80s, didn't we? Like Buy British, it was like a big thing, wasn't it? But I mean, that sort of came and went really. But again,
you'll see,
that's because German Japanese cars, isn't it? And
well,
that's what you were saying, wasn't it, about the American one? You've got to have the products as well, haven't you?
But there's products in America that you've never heard of that you won't see on the streets here or in Europe. You'll see like Lincoln. You don't see Lincolns on the street here. Mercury. You don't see that. Saturn.
What's Infinity? Are they American?
Japanese.
Oh, there you go.
Well, Infinity are you've got Toyota and you've got Lexus. Infinity's the luxury brand of Lexus, and there's another one. What's the other luxury Japanese one? That's the one of Toyota. It's whatever it is. You've got the two Toyota and Mazda or whatever, and you've got the luxury brand of them or whatever it may be, something like that. They're associated anyway, one way or another.
For me, that whole thing is economic opportunity, though. I mean, I'm not boiling it all down to that, but it's a huge thing where you've got no opportunity. You're a young kid, you're skint, you can't afford food, and you see these kids on the corner that have got nice shoes and they've got food and stuff. Why? They're selling drugs or they're doing whatever.
It's education as well. Education plays a big part in it.
Huge part.
But I think education initiatives have been around for a long time. People going into schools in inner cities, drugs are bad, guns are bad, knives are bad. Don't necessarily think it has that big an effect compared to, those kids have got those nice shoes and chains and stuff, but if you do this, you could also have that, but you just don't have to sell drugs to do it or whatever.
It's opportunity, isn't it?
It's easy money as well, isn't it? But it comes with consequence. But there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Interesting,
Hope you enjoyed that too. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Let us know about your city, how dangerous it is or how nice it is. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers guys.